Welcome to the Town of Avon Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. If you are interested in having a copy of the agenda or the staff reports, they are available on the tables to the right of the audience. This meeting is being recorded for the public record. Because of this, we request that personal conversations are kept to a minimum and all cell phone calls are set to vibrate with any phone calls taken outside of the chambers. If you are interested in commenting during any public hearing, please sign up on the sheets located on the tables to the right of the audience. When your name is called, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Please address your comments to the board and not to staff or the appellant. Your comments should relate directly to the case at hand. We do understand that there may be several persons who wish to speak. The chair may therefore impose a time limit for each person. Federal law requires that the town make available to all attendees a Title VI public involvement survey. Those surveys are on the table to the right of the audience. Members of the public who wish to complete this survey may do so and place them in the designated area. If because of a disability, any person in attendance needs assistance or accommodation to fully participate in this meeting, please notify staff. Again, thank you for your assistance in facilitating a respectful, fair, and timely meeting. Welcome to our meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And can we have a roll call, please?
Paul Guckenberger.
Here.
Anna Inman.
Here.
Catherine Ransford.
Here.
Marcy Tatzler.
Here.
Marcus Turner.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Next on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes. Did anyone have any questions or concerns? And if there are none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the meeting minutes from the April 21st Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Ransberg and a second by Mr. Guckenberger. Is there any discussion? We are ready for a vote?
Paul Guckenberger.
For.
Anna Inman.
4.
Catherine Ransford.
4.
Marcy Tatzler.
4.
Marcus Turner.
4. Okay. Any requests for continuances or agenda modifications?
None.
And we have no old business. We will go on. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have old business. This is variance 22-03 Ziggy's Coffee Illuminated Signage. Staff?
Sure. So this is for Ziggy's Coffee illuminated signage. It's a request for approval of a variance of development standards to allow for 3 internally illuminated wall signs, 1 internally illuminated ground sign, and 1 internally illuminated menu message board within 600 feet of a residential district. Here we have a site plan. This is slightly revised from the last one you saw, I believe. This monument sign may have moved slightly. Other than that, it's the same. You'll see the monument sign here. I will note that this will have to move 10 feet away from that property line. But other than that, the rest of the signs are compliant. Besides the illumination, reason why we're here. We got wall signs on this side, and this side, and the menu message board here. And we'll go into those more. Here are the actual signs. I know that this was something that the board wanted to see at the last meeting. These are the wall signs. You'll notice the south elevation I've indicated as being non-illuminated. These, again, have been reviewed for compliance in terms of sign area, and they are compliant there. This is the proposed ground sign, internally illuminated. This is compliant with sign area. It will have to be moved 10 feet back from the property line. The subject property is located at 1027 South Dan Jones Road in Avon, Indiana, and it's located on the southeast corner of Dan Jones and 100 South. This is the property in question here, highlighted in blue. you'll want to take into account the surrounding uses, as that is very applicable to this petition. We have the Pine Tree Estates to the west here. We have Hollow Brook to the east. World War II Memorial in the northwest corner, the elementary school to the north here. I don't know if you're aware, but this is a planned Town of Avon park. And we do have some residences here directly to the south, which will come into play. This is the same property, but this is the zoning, and this is basically why we're here today. The subject site is zone C2, and it's an island surrounded entirely by R2 residential zoning. Going to the history of the site, there's no significant land use on the property. It was annexed as part of the original incorporation of the town, and is annexed with the zoning designation of C2. And it's sat vacant ever since. This petition, as you should all know, was previously heard on April 21st by the Board of Zoning Appeals, and it was continued today. The main reasoning being that they wanted to see how the development plan review process went before deciding on the variance. The cart before the horse was the term used. I think it's very fitting. Shortly thereafter, the development plan review was heard by the Plan Commission and approved on April 25th. In addition to the 3 standard conditions tacked to all DPRs, there was a condition added to require the retention of at least 80% of the existing woods on the eastern portion of the site. And in addition to that, a waiver was approved to allow reclaimed barnwood to be used on the southwestern facade in lieu of masonry. The subject standard of Chapter 18 says that no sign within 600 feet of a residential district shall be illuminated unless the sign is visibly obstructed from view from the residential district. We find that the intent of that ordinance is to limit the negative externalities associated with illuminated signage near residential uses. That would be the disruption of sleep cycles and just general annoyance in late evening and early morning hours. Staff visited the site, and we found that to the northern property limits, where the majority of the signs are, the ground sign and 2 of the wall signs and the menu board sign, will not pose a risk to current or future residences due to the surrounding land uses. Those surrounding land uses are landscaped roundabout, war memorial, planned town park, as we discussed previously, all of which would not be negatively affected by the light produced from the proposed signage. Any concerns regarding light emission to the west, to the Pine Tree Estates residential subdivision, are alleviated by the existence of an effective year-round landscape screening. And those are coniferous trees on the perimeter of the subdivision. And likewise, the Hollow Brook residential subdivision to the east is effectively screened by that wooded area on the eastern boundaries of the parcel. 80% of that wooded area is required to remain as a condition of the approval of the DPR, as we just spoke of. So here's the site again, just so that we can see the perimeter screening here from the trees. You can see their shadows, rather dense. I was just out there today, checking it out before this meeting. And then we have the wooded area here to the east to screen this subdivision here. You will notice that these houses are rather close to that south wall. Staff does have significant concerns with regards to the illuminated wall sign located on the southwest facade, because it'll point in the general direction of those residences I just pointed to, and therefore would potentially affect those properties in a substantially adverse manner. And for that reason, we recommend that that wall sign on the south facade be excluded from any approval so as to preserve and protect those neighboring residences. Spoke with the appellant, and they're in agreement with that. And they've committed to not asking for that on the south side. So we're really just talking about the other wall signs. Staff finds that with the conditions noted as part of our published staff report, the approval of this variance would not affect the use and value of the area adjacent to the property in a substantially adverse manner, because we feel that the residential properties nearby are effectively shielded from the view through landscape screening, the roundabout, woods, etc. And we find that the intent of the ordinance is therefore met. We find that the practical difficulty is in that the subject site is surrounded on all sides by a residential district, but a majority of the surrounding land uses near the signs are not residential uses, and therefore won't be affected by the illumination of the signage. And we maintain that with the recommendations included as part of our staff report, the intent of the ordinance is still met. So went over pretty much all of that in our last meeting. So these are the updates since that meeting. Since the continuation of the petition at the last BZA meeting, we worked with the appellant to revise their proposal. The appellant is in agreement with the revised condition that would limit the permitted hours of illumination from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. The original condition recommended hours of illumination from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. The reason we landed on 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Those were the operating hours of the business. So it would limit the duration of the illumination to only that which is necessary. The current proposed hours are 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., but the appellant has expressed that they may extend their hours just 1 extra hour. So we made it 8 p.m. just to cover that so they don't have to come back here, requested revised variance. And we further find that the revised times are more consistent with average local sunrise and sunset times throughout the year. And then lastly, we added a condition since the last time, which ensures the proposed signage does not substantially deviate from the plans that you've seen today. And with that, we recommend approval subject to the following 3 conditions. The southwest facade wall sign shall not be illuminated. A timer shall automatically shut off all illuminated signage from the hours of 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. And all signs shall be consistent with the provided sign plan. With that, I'm available for questions.
I've got one for you. So you have Exhibit C, you've got the sign plan. All of those, with the exception of the southwest facing wall sign, is to be internally illuminated, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And is there, the way that the commitment was written, it said that the southwest wall will not be illuminated, and that would preclude them from doing any type of external illumination, correct?
That would be
So they
correct.
can't have a spotlight pointing back at their wall.
That would be correct. That's the intention of staff. Yeah, it's to have no illumination whatsoever.
Do we, no, I'll save that for later discussion. Any other questions from staff?
I just appreciate that the work that staff did working with the appellant in working towards a solution. It's nice to see everybody talking together and being solution oriented on this. And I'm just, once again, kudos to our wonderful staff.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Any other questions for staff? We'll hear from the petitioner at this point.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kelly Singleton. And
Is it green?
it's red.
Hit the button on it.
Now it's green?
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, good evening. My name is Kelly Singleton, and I live at 557 Northfield Road in Plainfield, Indiana, 46168. We thank you for hearing our project again and allowing us to continue and work with the staff and come up with a viable solution, hopefully that everyone can be happy with. It is by no means Ziggy's, our intention to be a disruption to the residents, and we're happy to comply with not illuminating that southwest sign and the timers and so forth that the staff presented. So I didn't really have anything else to add unless you all had any questions for me.
Can we assume that Ziggy's corporate, there's not going to be them coming back and going, no, you have to do exactly what we want, or are they completely in the loop on this?
They are completely in the loop with this. They have reviewed everything that was provided to Ian for this meeting tonight, and they have approved all of it. So yes, they're fine with it.
Good.
Before we get too far into Q&A, let's just for a procedural matter here, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone signed up to speak?
I don't think so.
I'll answer the question now.
Okay. Since no one has signed up to speak, then we will close the public hearing. Thank you. Continue. I'm sorry. No other questions?
If we could just see, didn't we do a rendering last time that showed what it's actually going to look like? Did we bring it up?
Will you pull up the sheets on the slide deck? It should be.
Did we do that?
I believe
Or
that
was it-
someone pulled up the website, which
Yeah.
has some pictures.
Which I'm just curious, because there were a couple of different, there, I think this business can look a little different in
Yes.
some respects, right?
Correct.
So I'd kind of like to just see what
That's
yours is going to look like.
That's what the elevations of the building are going to look like.
Yes.
But we did like the art. It was like, I think you went to the website and. Yeah, those are pictures on the website. No, it was in color. There was some man standing out front of the cup of coffee.
They just showed that earlier.
Where?
You couldn't see it.
Well, no,
because you
that was of the,
That sign.
No. It was the whole building.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
do.
those were pictures from the website. Those were pictures from the website.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'd like to see that.
Can I ask, is what we're looking at, are those the illuminated signs on the rendering?
Correct. The to the top one and then the one to the right, but then the one here to the left is the south side sign, which will not be illuminated.
So that's what the building's gonna look like. with the
Yes, these are
illuminated signs.
actual drawings of the building that we are building. Yes.
So that's what we're considering tonight.
that's correct, yes.
Okay. Well, while we're in, I just want to say, like Catherine said about staff, we appreciate that you worked with staff and to come up with a solution, listening to the comments that were made last meeting. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. No problem. Here it comes.
Other questions for the petitioner?
No.
Discussion amongst the board?
I appreciate the petitioner asking for a continuance last time because we were waiting on this to go in front of for plan approval, which made a lot of sense. And looks like what the planning commission did addressed any other issues relating to, I think last time we had some neighbors from the east side of the property who were concerned about illumination. And so making sure that those woods were preserved and that kind of stuff. I think we've got a more complete solutions to potential problems presented to us here tonight. And I think this is I like the idea of the business and I think it's a good spot for it. And I like the solution that the petitioner and our staff have created to make this possible.
I thought the staff did a nice job with the staff report. And I'm in agreement with you on all the statutory findings. And of course, on this one, it's always the practical difficulty issue. And not having those illuminated signs, that causes visibility problems and competitive disadvantages issues and all that. I did want to discuss the commitment, the no illuminated signage. And I wasn't here last week, so I don't know what the discussion was like. Was there opposition to have external illumination on that southwest corner? And I'm not trying to push an idea on anybody, but if they want to have that flexibility, I'd rather have them automatically have it than us imposing something on them.
Yeah, so the non-illumination of the southwest facade, I think we came to that conclusion before they even came to the BZA.
Okay.
But I don't think staff is necessarily against that. If you want to play with the idea of externally illuminated, I had reached out to them and asked them if they had any alternate proposals. And externally illuminated wasn't one of them. I was keeping an eye out for that. I believe I'd reached out, sent them an email, showed them, hey, what are your thoughts on externally illuminated? They came back, because as I remember, they came back and said, hey, we wouldn't do the southwest side. But I wouldn't say staff's necessarily against that.
No, I don't want to monkey with anything that was a product of discussion with the neighbors. But again, if they wanted to do that in the future, and if we don't think it's a big deal, I think they're better off, having that flexibility. And it's as simple as changing the commitment to no illumination to no internal illumination. So it's just something to consider.
I think if the petitioner has already agreed to that commitment, it doesn't make sense to rehash it now since we're already there.
Yeah, I do have a question though, now you bring that up, and I think that's a good point. If we impose that commitment, does that stay with the property in any future business there if Ziggy's would leave and go away?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay. And that's where I think, I think Marcus brings a good point up, because we really didn't say no externally, no to any illumination. We were talking about only the internally illuminated signs. Because I thought we kind of talked about the idea of an external illuminated sign as an option, not the total no illumination. And there's no one here to talk against that. I think the flexibility of internally is projecting, externally is projecting against the wall, so it's really not going out to the other properties. And I would be for changing that commitment to that the southwest facade wall shall not have an internally illuminated sign. Just my opinion.
I have no problem with an externally illuminated sign on that wall.
I just want to make sure we're not stepping on anybody's toes that were here last month that aren't here tonight. That's my.
Well, the chapter does say, no sign within 600 feet of a residential district shall be illuminated unless the sign is visibly obstructed from view. It doesn't say internally or externally, it just says illuminated. We have two houses directly to the south of that. And I'm not the greatest at eyeballing distance, but I believe those are within 600 feet. And there is no visible obstruction preventing between those homes and that illumination, regardless of the illumination source.
And we do have illumination on the roundabout too, that's already there.
Mhm.
And question is, would it be that much more illumination than what they've already dealing with? I don't know.
I guess then in the commitment to the wall not being illuminated was agreed by the petitioner, agreed to by petitioner. Okay.
And that was true at our last meeting too. They'd already agreed to that at our last meeting.
And you're absolutely correct. It does say illuminated. It doesn't specify internal or external. So
Right.
my point is moot.
Okay.
I'd be glad to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve VAR 2203 Ziggy's Coffee illuminated signage, a variance of development standards to allow 2 internally illuminated wall signs, 1 internally illuminated ground sign, and 1 internally illuminated menu board within 600 feet of a residential district, subject to the following conditions. The southwest facade wall sign shall not be illuminated. Is that right?
Correct.
A timer shall automatically shut off all illuminated signage from the hours of 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. All signs shall be consistent with the provided sign plan. Since it has satisfied all the requirements for variances of development standards under state law and subject to the approved findings of fact.
I'll second that motion.
So a motion by Mr. Guckenberger and a second by Mrs. Ransberg. Is there any discussion? We're ready for a vote?
Paul Guckenberger.
Four.
Ann Inman.
4.
Catherine Ransberg.
4.
Marcy Tashler.
4.
Marcus Turner.
4. Thank you.
We have a coffee shop sign.
Good.
Okay, moving on, we have no new business. Any other business?
Let's just be sure to get the minutes signed. I feel like people have a tendency to run out of here, which I don't blame you, but let's just be sure to get those signed before everyone leaves, and that's all I got.
Very good. Public comment? There's nobody here. We are adjourned. Thank you.